The air in Missouri was dense and damp, almost syrupy, the kind that wraps itself around you and makes every movement feel like a chore. At the Chiefs' summer camp in St. Joseph, the atmosphere was alive with noise and heat. Coaches shouted over the sharp sound of whistles slicing through the heavy afternoon. Helmets knocked together, cleats thundered on the turf, and sweat dripped in the sticky sun. Travis Kelce ran his drills, catching passes and moving through the motions as he always did. But today, his mind kept drifting away from the field. It wandered to the memory of a letter, one that had slipped into his hands without any show, as quiet and welcome as a soft wind. Taylor had written it herself. No FaceTime call, no public message, just a folded piece of paper, the ink a little smudged where her hand had pressed too hard. He still remembered how it felt. Opening it in his locker, the world narrowing to the curve of her handwriting. Since reading it, nothing had been quite the same for him. Every word she wrote seemed to carry a private code, gentle but powerful, a little enigmatic but chosen carefully enough to make his skin tingle. She hadn't laid everything out, but the feeling was unmistakable. Something important was happening. Beneath the surface, something that would change things. As practice dragged on, Travis kept hearing her voice in his mind. Every time he sprinted or caught a ball, he flashed back to her garden in the evening, fairy lights glowing above their heads. Nashville nights when they talked music until the stars faded. Those late studio visits when he would show up half awake just to watch her hum a new tune. Now, as sweat rolled down his face, all he could focus on was the possibility she might be waiting for him after practice. She hadn't said so directly, but the last line of her letter had stuck with him. "I hope you're not rushing off after practice." That hint was all it took to fill him with a restless, nervous excitement. He kept wondering if she was flying in, or maybe driving herself, or even sending someone to meet him. He didn't know. And for once, he didn't want to figure it out ahead of time. He just wanted it to unfold, whatever it was. For the first time in months, he craved a moment that wasn't planned, posted, or shared with the world. He wanted something that belonged only to them. When the last drill finished, most of the team drifted away, laughing and joking, towels thrown around their necks. But Travis lingered at the edge of the field. He tossed a ball into the air, catching it, over and over, trying to steady his nerves. The letter still sat in his pocket, warm from his body, as the sky faded from gold to lavender overhead. He thought about telling someone, but not just anyone. Not his agent, not the internet, just Jason, his brother, the one who had always known how to listen. He imagined calling Jason, or maybe saving it for their next podcast, not spilling every detail, but sharing enough for his brother to see the truth in his voice. He could already hear Jason's teasing, the way he would grin and say, "Wait, you're telling me Taylor sent you a letter, hinted she's showing up, and you're just hanging out like it's nothing?" Travis could pretend to play it cool, but Jason would know better. Just the thought of sharing it with his brother made everything less lonely, more real, like whatever came next. He wouldn't be facing it by himself. As the sun slipped lower, stretching shadows across the grass, Travis noticed a black SUV parked just beyond the fence. Nothing flashy, just steady and quiet. In the passenger seat, a flicker of blonde hair caught the last light. He didn't run, didn't wave, just smiled to himself. She had come, just as she'd promised in her own way. No press, no crowd, just Taylor. He walked over, feeling every step in his bones, the weight of hope making his heart thump against his ribs. When he reached the SUV, she was there waiting. No words right away, only a long look, the kind of smile that changes everything without saying a thing. He opened the door for her and she slid out, wrapping him in a hug before either of them spoke. In that instant, it felt like the whole world shrank to just them. The stadium and city blurring away, every sound replaced by the rush of his own heartbeat. They sat in his truck, windows cracked to the breeze, the last rays of sunlight fading out. Taylor rested her hand over his, and he felt the faint brush of her ring against his skin, a tiny detail that meant everything to him. They didn't need to talk. The quiet was enough, filling in the spaces where words would have fallen short. Travis thought back to her letter, how she'd written about the small things, the first time she heard him laugh, the way he'd check in after her concerts, the way their families came up in late-night conversations, and how much she wanted to surprise him, to show up when he least expected it. Now here she was. And suddenly, all the waiting, all the wondering, felt like it had led to this. He looked over at her and saw the same mix of nerves and excitement in her eyes that he felt himself. He wanted to tell her everything, but he didn't. Want to break the magic? So he just squeezed her hand and let the moment stretch, letting silence say what he couldn't. As night fell and the stadium emptied, they sat side by side, her head on his shoulder, the stadium lights blinking out, one by one. He whispered, "You already changed my world, and I haven't even heard your full message yet." She smiled, understanding without needing to reply. In the quiet, with only the hum of cicadas and their own laughter, Travis felt lighter than he had in a long time. He knew he'd talk to Jason about it. Maybe not all at once, but enough, because some things are too big to keep to yourself. Maybe one day he'd even ask Taylor to come on the podcast, let her have the mic, let her share her side of things. If anyone deserved that, it was her. As the night drifted on, they talked about everything and nothing. Football, music, dreams, that seemed too far away to name. For once, neither of them cared who might be watching or what stories would be spun the next day. It was just the two of them, the truck, and the memory of a letter that shifted the world. In the early hours, Travis drove her back to her hotel, the city quiet and still. He promised himself that he'd remember this night, the way the world seemed to pause, how hope felt possible. When he dropped her off, he watched her slip inside, the letter still in his pocket, a secret to keep close. Alone in his truck, stadium lights far behind, he replayed every moment, every glance, every word, feeling ready for whatever came next. Sometimes everything changes in a single moment. Sometimes all it takes is a letter and a little belief. Don't forget to subscribe for more moments like this. The days that followed felt different from the start. Travis woke early, the memory of Taylor's hug still fresh, the city outside his window humming with possibility. Practice felt easier, lighter. Teammates noticed he was quicker to laugh, more focused, even as he kept his secret close. On the podcast, Jason teased him about his good mood, and Travis just shrugged, the truth flickering in his smile. He checked his phone for messages, half hoping for another handwritten note, but knowing the real magic was already in motion. Taylor sent him a playlist the next day, not with words, but with songs that spoke for her.